Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Breaking news coming in from Donald Trump. Israel and Lebanon will hold talks later today, that is on Thursday. In a Truth Social post, Trump said, and I quote him here, trying to get a little breathing room between Israel and Lebanon. It has been a long time since the two leaders have spoken, like 34 years. It will happen tomorrow. Nice, that's what he said. President notably earlier on Tuesday, Israeli and Lebanese representative held direct talks for the first time in 3 decades in Washington aimed at easing the conflict. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio mediated the discussions between Israeli Ambassador Yechiel Leiter and Lebanese Ambassador Nada Mouad. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun voiced cautious optimism, saying he hoped the negotiations would mark the beginning of the end of the suffering of the Lebanese people. Israeli officials, meanwhile, described the negotiations as part of a long-term strategy against Hezbollah. The two sides remain formally at war as of now. So, US President Donald Trump has said that Israel and Lebanon will hold talks on Thursday in what could be a major step towards easing long-standing tensions between the two sides. Akshay Dongre has more information on this. He is joining us on the phone line. Akshay, first of all, how big a breakthrough is this, given that Israel and Lebanon have not engaged at this level for decades?
It's a great move and a good news as far as global peacemaking efforts are concerned, especially when we talk about the West Asian region, which has been, under some conflict or the other for decades now. And it seems that finally one of the most long-standing dispute that is between Lebanon and between Lebanon and Israel are going to be, they'll be sitting on the negotiation table. They'll be discussing at least their long-standing issues, discussing the issues of Hezbollah, discussing the issues of a possibility of a ceasefire, and also the constant attacks and air raids that Israel has been carrying out, especially in the last 2 months. So there can be potential breakthrough, but Abhishek, we have to also keep in mind that it will have to be constructive talk, and genuine effort will have to be made from both the sides to ensure that the talks bear some result. Because we have seen many a times in long-standing disputes, especially when we look at an example of Russia and Ukraine, the conflict has been going on for many years now. They have held many rounds of talks as well. But many a time it's not just that the talks are, sort of misplaced optimism, but many a times they further increase the conflict when the two sides understand the perspective of their adversary. So, genuine efforts will have to be made from both the sides, because if this issue gets resolved, if there is a potential understanding of each other's concern between Lebanon and Israel, then a major part of this this entire dispute in the region gets resolved. Lebanon has Hezbollah. Lebanon has also many a times, given shelter and safe sanctuary to Hamas leaders as well. So it has been a conflict between Israel and Lebanon for a long time, if not on the war field, if not on the ground, but in diplomatic measures as well. So a possibility of a truce, possibility of an understanding between the two sides, also it's very interesting to note that despite all of these air raids, despite all of the conflict, all of the attacks, bombs, missiles, finally the countries have to resort to dialogue and diplomacy, something that countries like India, global leaders like Prime Minister Modi have been calling for very long. You cannot have resolution of any conflict without dialogue and diplomacy, and ultimately you'll have to resort to dialogue and diplomacy, and something that will be a positive sign, but will have to also be cautious with the kind of talks happen. And it's not just going to be one round of talks. So obviously there are going to be multiple talks that will be followed, because if these kind of talks are happening after 34 years, it will also take many rounds of talks to have a genuine understanding and a permanent solution of this conflict.
Yes, talks are happening after 3 decades, 34 years. You said these are the visuals that we are showing you of Tuesday, 14th April, where Israeli and Lebanese representative held direct talks for the first time in 3 decades in Washington aimed at easing the conflicts. But Akshay, if these talks succeed, what changes are expected on the ground, and if they fail, what are the risks of escalation?
Well, we are hoping that as far as the Israeli air raids are concerned and the attacks on potential Hezbollah targets, they will be brought down at least till the time the talks happen, because you cannot have talks and conflict at the same time. You cannot be bombing a country and expect them to come and sit on the negotiation table with you. So Israel will also have to bring a halt to the conflict that's taking place, to the military action that they're carrying out against Hezbollah targets and other targets in Lebanon. But this is a good news, if we talk about the overall picture, and a potential breakthrough is possible if serious negotiations happen between the two countries.
Yes, potential breakthrough is possible. In Israel and Lebanon will hold talks later today, that is on Thursday. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for inputs, Akshay.